It has been a long day. You know it's bad when you're opening a white monster at I think it's 9 o'clock tonight. I still have to work out. So the video I had planned, I did shoot a vlogging video. I might use some of the clips for this video. I was gonna take you through my day-to-day as a medical device sales rep. And as I was shooting that vlog, I realized that it's not gonna be, perfectly representative of every single type of medical device sales rep. I've had experience in every single level of orthopedics. I've been in and around spine reps. I've been in and around capital reps. I'm currently a capital sales rep. So I figured instead of me taking you through my day, I would explain to you my day as both, older orthopedic rep and now capital equipment rep. And that way you can get kind of the full spectrum of medical device sales reps. And on top of that, I'm going to explain just kind of how sales works as a whole. So if the topic of sales and the day-to-day of a sales rep is something you're interested in, or if you follow me, you've seen my progress in my career and you just want to know that update, go ahead and like and subscribe to this video. Go ahead and share it. I think my most viewed video also was my most liked video in the first 30 minutes. So it really does make a difference in the YouTube algorithm. So that being said, let me explain to you medical device sales. So sales positions, you got to think of them like an upside down pyramid, right? So there's really 3 levels to this. At the very top of that pyramid is going to be your lead generation sales reps. Those can be inside sales reps. Those could be sales development reps. Those could be business development reps. Those could be territory managers. Those could be territory consultants, which I'm, a territory manager and a consultant. There's different titles for different industries and different companies, but every job is pretty much the same. Your job is to prospect. It's to analyze an area, analyze a group of people, analyze people who might have a similar problem, and figure out who could actually use your service or a product. And not saying that you're going to sell it to 100% of them. You're probably, to be honest with you, going to sell it to 1% of them. If you're really good, you might do 2% of them. But your job is to eliminate the 3 million people in your city to 3,000 people that you can talk to, and hopefully you close about 30 of those 3,000. Most of the time, this is your entry sales rep position, but I don't want to only tie prospecting reps to entry-level positions. There are people who spend their entire careers, and there are people who make a lot of money, and there are people who are extremely good at this portion of sales. It's just typically the lead generating position in most sales industries, because it's a lot more busy work. I guess that's the way to put it. It's a lot more busy work and more repetitive work than it is for the lower 2 levels of the pyramid. So let me go down to the second level. So the second level is most commonly referred to as an account executive, and that's going to be your closer. So an account executive is that person who makes sure that the customer is on the same page with the sales rep about the company, about the industry, about what they can do, the service or the product. It's the person who's fully able to paint that big picture to the customer so they finally find a solution to their pain. Now, the very bottom of the pyramid, right? And it's funny because the middle portion of the pyramid tends to be the highest paid portion, but the bottom of the pyramid are your account managers or post-sales support. There's different terminologies for it, but those are the people who are incentivized, right, to make sure that your current customers are as successful as possible. And that looks different from industry to industry. But post-sales support is one of the most valuable portions of most industries, and let me explain why. You want to retain your current customers, especially if you have a product. If you have different product families, they might buy into those other families because they already are familiar with you and they know you're successful with their current product, which would be your company, right? Or they have a service that they want to upgrade, or they have a service that they want to add on to. There's other reasons why you don't just want to sell something to somebody and walk away. Account management is one of the most valuable portion of the sales pyramid because it's making sure your current customers are happy, which ultimately dictates your reputation in the long term. If you sell a bad product and people give you bad reviews, guess what you won't be able to do 5 years from now? Sell that exact same product because it's going to have 1-star reviews every time somebody Googles it. That's the value of post-sale support, or that very bottom portion of the pyramid. Another important factor to understand is that this upside down pyramid can be fluid. Sometimes one person represents all three roles. Sometimes one person represents half of one role. Sometimes two people represent all three roles. It's just a concept of that is the vertical integration you need in order to have a successful sales cycle that's beneficial to your customers and beneficial to your company. So now that I've explained kind of what sales is, I'm going to explain to you the difference between my day-to-day as an orthopedic rep and now as a capital equipment rep. And these are really your two main differences when it comes to medical device sales. It might not be orthopedics, but it's going to be a OR heavy sales position, or it's going to be a, business oriented sales position like a capital equipment position. So when you're an OR sales rep, it's almost a misnomer because you're not really a sales rep. I like to think of OR sales mainly living at the bottom of that pyramid, of that upside down pyramid. What orthopedic reps are people who maintain current client relationships. Yes, they do flip doctors, but as you can imagine, doctors get trained in one way. It's extremely hard, right? And almost not worth your time to try to flip them, but it's extremely hard to convince them to move away what they have 10 years of training on, or some of these doctors have 40 years of experience with. So as a result, your actual job is more consultative. In the OR, you're explaining how to use your devices. You're explaining which products to use. You're making sure that the products are there, you have everything available to them. So you got to keep in mind that surgeries start really early. So that means your day starts really early. So when I was an orthopedic rep, I was waking up at 5 o'clock pretty consistently, 5 to 6 o'clock, because you have to be in the OR, in the hospital at 6:30. So you're prepped and ready to go for surgery at 7 a.m. And depending on how much time you have, right, or how many cases you have, your day can end as early as 9 a.m. or it can end as late as 1 a.m. the following morning, right? It's not a 9 to 5, it's more of a, I like to think of it as a 6 to 3. Your hours are kind of pulled back, but your hours fluctuate a lot. Now you're still gonna be working 40 hours a week. That's not true, you're probably working closer to 60, but the number one thing that's going to separate OR positions is call. And it's just like doctors, right? People willing to take call tend to make more money. So when I was a trauma rep, I was working 75, 80 hours a week, very inconsistent hours. A lot of times I was waking up at 6 a.m. and I was not getting home until 5 p.m. Not the next day, but the following day. That's 2 nights of no sleep. Almost every other week was at least 2 days back to back of no sleep in between those 2 days. So one night of skipped sleep, and it was worth it. It was a great experience. It gave me the work ethic that I currently have, but obviously it's not sustainable, right? So if you're looking into medical device sales, I don't think you should avoid trauma call, right? I don't think you should avoid call at all, right? I think you should spend the time, get the experience, go through it. So you understand if you can handle it, right? Because you come out a better rep and everything from that point on will seem easier. But that way you're also grateful for your positions. Like if you end up in a position like I am now, or if you end up in a position that doesn't take call at all, you're grateful for that lifestyle that you are able to live. But that was pretty much it. And you'll notice that when I describe my day of waking up at 6, being in surgeries and making sure you're prepped and ready for call, I didn't mention anything about sales, but you're a sales rep, right? You do get paid on the stuff used within the surgery, and the way it works, you don't upsell somebody in a surgery. When you get into the details of everything, that's really hard to do, and it doesn't make any sense, to be honest with you. So there's really not any selling going on, right? So that's why I always say that orthopedic sales rep is a misnomer. And that's what I think a lot of people don't understand when you look at orthopedic sales or surgical sales, or just in the sense of OR positions where it's more friendships and relationship driven than it is actual sales. And that can be a good thing, right? It just doesn't fit everybody. And personally, it didn't fit me. And that's why I moved into capital equipment. So capital equipment, right, is very interesting. It's 100% business to business sales, right? So business to consumer would be if you go to Walmart, you're a consumer, the business is selling directly to a consumer. Business to business, or B2B, right? Is basically I go into a practice, see what they're doing, how I can help them, and how we can help each other. There's negotiations involved, and then you sign a contract to move forward. It's a little bit different of a process. It's a longer sales process, and it's a harder sales process, but that's why it's fun, and honestly, that's also why it's more rewarding financially. As a capital equipment sales, my day-to-day is a little bit different. So the way I work is my lunches are very valuable meetings. That's face-to-face time with the doctor, right? So I make sure that I spend my mornings prepping for my lunch, making sure that when I present to them, I'm able to beforehand, before asking them any questions, have a good idea of what pain they might be going through, what kind of latent pain they might not see yet. And by pain, I mean something that their business isn't doing accurately. And that's a genuine pain. That's a genuine pain. They might not be aware of it, and my job is to make them aware of it, right? Or they might be very much be aware of it, and my job is to understand and empathize with those people, and then to figure out if my company has a solution for that pain. Now, I'll be honest with you, to be frank with you, we don't always have a solution. And because we don't always have a solution, that's when you shake hands and go, hey, I wish we could work with you, but there's nothing for us to genuinely do here, right? And that's the difference between a good sales rep and a bad sales rep. I think bad sales reps, right, are people who shove things down other people's throats, and that's where you get the negative connotation of a sales rep. I don't do that, and nobody I work with does that. And I think the majority of sales reps are good people, are good sales reps, but once again, the bad ones hurt it for everybody else. So I prep for that lunch in the morning, I run that lunch, and then in the afternoon, I will already have a route listed of doctor's offices that I think would have that pain that we could address, right? Or who might be able to use our products or our services, and I basically cold call. Door-to-door sales is very much a business to consumer type of tactic. In my industry, it's interesting because you use that tactic for business to business sales. Other industries do that as well, but I do that for about 4 hours a day. It's talking to people. I love talking to people. You're always having great conversation. You run into a lot of no's, and that's fine because you can't help everybody, and nor should you. Your goal as a sales rep is to find the people who are ready and understand what you can do for them, and just be there at the right time. That's really the best sales reps. So sales, by the way, is a kind of 24/7 job. I'm shooting this video at 9 o'clock at night. And keep in mind that I just got home. I'm still in what I wore for the day. So my hours are a lot more, but it doesn't feel like work because it's very much talking to people, and that's something I like to do. So that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions, I'm gonna go into more detail specifically about like what my day-to-day looks like, how I run my day in the sense of what apps I use, you know, what my thought process behind all of it. If you're interested in any of that, of any questions about sales, go ahead and leave me a comment below. Or if you have any questions about me, I'll be shooting a video about why I regret getting my Amex Platinum card sometime this week. So that's gonna be the next video up. But that being said, if you guys like this video, go ahead and like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.